platform like OpenAI, they assign you the full ownership rights of the output with the caveat that they're not responsible for any copyright issues. You are. They assign it to you. So that means, can you sell the output? Can you use it commercially? Can you print it on a t-shirt and sell it? 100%. You just assume responsibility in the event that the output infringes on an original creator's work. So that's like a pro, right? I can do whatever I want with the output. I can write a blog and I can put it on my business page. I can use it for commercial purposes. The way the courts have decided since then is that you can take like an image that DALL-E creates and you can put it in your photo editor and you can edit it. The pieces that you edit, the things that you put your hands to, potentially those portions of it you may be able to own, but not the underlying piece.
Welcome to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, the podcast that shows you how to leverage the power of AI technology without wasting your time or selling your soul. Let's embrace making AI work for you. Hey, my human friend, and welcome back to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. I am so excited to share this conversation with you. We are talking with Amber of the Boutique Lawyer, and she is dishing up all of the updates when it comes to copyright and AI tools and what it means for you in your business as a solopreneur. We do chat about different things that we need to be aware of and the disclaimers and what tasks we really should lean into using AI for and what tasks we may want to either avoid or just realize that we may not have copyright protection for, right? So I know you're going to love this conversation. Amber's just so down to earth and real when it comes to this stuff. And this is really important for us to just kind of continue to be aware of, be thoughtful for ourselves, but especially for our client work as well, right? And so we get a little bit into that too. If you do enjoy this episode, make sure that you share it with another business buddy who could also use to listen to it and or share it to your Instagram stories. Make sure that you tag us. I am at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs and Amber is at the Boutique Lawyer. Send us a message. Let us know that you love the podcast and we will be sure to give you a follow back and just continue connecting with you over there. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. Hi, Amber. Thank you so much for coming on Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. I am so excited to bring you on the show, lady.
I know, I'm so excited for this myself. I love this topic. It's really fun. And I think the best part about it from like my legal perspective, it's constantly changing. And so it's fun to chat about.
Oh my gosh, yes. I cannot wait for you to dish up all of the thoughts and knowledge when it comes to AI and copyright. But I think actually we should start by having you introduce yourself just a little bit. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve, lady?
So I'm Amber, attorney and founder of the Boutique Lawyer, where I help online business owners simplify the fine print of running a business. It can get really tricky in the law, and the law doesn't care if you knew better or you didn't know. They expect you to follow the law. I'm trying to help people avoid those kind of legal landmines, so to speak, just educating them on the do's and don'ts of running a business online. So that's my jam. That's what I like to do. And I'm excited to chat about this.
Yeah. So I do always like to kick off these conversations by just asking, how did you start dipping your toes into the world of AI and start learning about it?
So it's really cool. I reached out to a friend of mine who I connected with on Instagram originally. Her name's Lauren Devane, the AI auntie. Her handle is the Muse Studio. And I reached out to her a couple of years ago and she did my branding. I fell in love with it and in love with her process. And then when Chat GPT came out, she really was at the forefront. Through our connection, she worked on a project for me where she generated AI images as well for one of my courses. And I've taught in her course as well about AI. And I think that was my first kind of with Lauren connecting on that topic intrinsically about my brand itself was really cool to get started that way. And then I have a membership where I actually closed it. Sad. But I had a membership with, and it was a huge topic for them. There were some artists in there, photographers, and then just business owners wondering like what they can and can't do with it. And so through their questions, I started researching the topic as well. And it's just fascinating to me how it's been handled like in the US and internationally as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny that Lauren did your branding. So she's been a guest on Authentic AI. I love her so much. And Actually, I was totally like creeping on your branding and being like, ooh, I love this. And of course, Lauren did it. That makes so much sense. But let's just dive straight into AI and copyright. What are some of those things that we really need to know as entrepreneurs as of May of 2024 right now?
Here we talk about AI. For the most part, we're talking about generative AI. So I think that's a topic really that people are super interested in. And that is what Chat GPT is. We give it a prompt and it gives us output. It's outputting based on what we give it and what it has learned from other people, right? And there's a big issue at the center of this, I think, between generative AI and copyright that kind of at the heart of it is ownership and whether it's right or wrong for AI to learn from other people's work and presumably create output based on their product, which legally is called a derivative product or derivative work. And the copyright owner is the one who has the exclusive right to create a derivative work. So if it's too close to the original, it's considered derivative. And that idea of too close is very subjective. So that's like a very quick rundown of like the legal issue at the heart of the matter for generative AI, which is like copyright ownership. And is it right or wrong? And then generally speaking, do you own the output of AI at all? And that's really interesting because there's been a little bit of update on that in the past 6 months or so with different cases being heard on that thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. It's just so crazy to think about how these things are all unfolding. Yeah. That's what I've been telling my students too. I'm like, it's just really important to be aware and be light on your toes and just really be thoughtful about how you're using these tools. And how do you feel about possibly not being able to own the output in certain ways in the future and all different stuff? And also, I think that it is really interesting thinking about the difference between generative images and AI or generative videos, and then generative text tools like Chat GPT, where it's like, I totally understand if you just copy paste a whole Instagram caption from Chat GPT into your caption without changing anything, then that's probably not necessarily copyright or whatever. But at the same time, a lot of times with text, it feels a little bit more gray area because we are often editing and revising and it's like a collaborative process. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I do. And I think last year there was a lot of conversation on whether or not, like, if your prompting is good enough, if it's detailed enough, if it's super specific, would you not then own the output because you put so much effort in directing the AI to create something based on your prompting? Would you then not own it? And what the law has said since last year is that, no, sorry, you don't. I don't care how good your prompting is, how detailed it is, you still cannot claim ownership in the raw output of AI, whether it's image or text. And of course, that's really important for lots of different reasons. A platform like OpenAI, they assign you the full ownership rights of the output with the caveat that they're not responsible for any copyright issues. You are, but they assign it to you. So that means, can you sell the output? Can you use it commercially? Can you print it on a t-shirt and sell it 100%? You just assume responsibility in the event that the output infringes on an original creator's work. So that's like a pro, right? I can do whatever I want with the output. I can write a blog and I can put it on my business page. I can use it for commercial purposes. The way the courts have decided since then is that you can take like an image that DALL-E creates and you can put it in your photo editor and you can edit it. The pieces that you edit, the things that you put your hands to, potentially those portions of it you may be able to own, but not the underlying piece. So it's really important for like brand designers in particular who are using AI to create logos, because you need to have a disclosure or disclaimer within your conversation with your client and within your contracts in particular to say, like, if we use AI to generate your image, you won't own the copyright in it. That's important because if they go to register it, it will get rejected from the Copyright Office. And it's just something to bear in mind, like for designers and people using it, there are limitations to how you can use AI within a business.
Have you been wanting to add AI tools to your business, but you're feeling overwhelmed by all the options? I feel you. There are so many AI tools out there, it's hard to know which ones work well and which ones will work for you. That's why I'm excited to introduce our new free resource, the Authentic AI Tech Toolkit. This is our thoughtfully curated library of tried and tested AI tools that are specifically recommended for solopreneurs like you. From everyday business tasks like organizing and automating to content creation, video editing, copywriting, and more, our Authentic AI Tech Toolkit is dishing up recommendations for tools that our community has been loving to use in their business and lives. Gain access for free right now at diywith.ai/toolkit and go find those AI tools that will be super helpful for you and your business. Ready to find AI tools that are perfect for you and start making your tasks and to-dos a little easier? Simply head to diywith.ai/toolkit to sign up for free right now. Oh my goodness. And it is just so crazy to think about all the different nuances. And exactly, that's a really great parallel to considering editing a piece of text that AI has generated for you. Do you have any thoughts about that? If you are working in collaboration with ChatGPT to write emails or blogs or Instagram captions, or even for your digital products and whatnot and your offers, how much of a gray area is it if you are using it in collaboration and you're using some text, but you're also doing quite a bit of heavy editing of the final product?
I do. So it truly, the base of it does not, you still won't be eligible for copyright protection. So the pieces that you go in and heavily copy edit or change, those are yours. You own, that's your wording. If you put it on your blog and you have changed most of the output, I would say that you still own everything that you originally created or changed. That is yours. The way the law is drawing the line is saying whatever Chat GPT output, you don't own that. So it'd be really hard to file a copyright application or even claim copyright infringement and then draw the line between the two. Now, if somebody copy pasted your blog, could you still bring a copyright infringement claim against them? Absolutely. I think the pieces they didn't change and the parts that you changed, right? That's enough to still prove infringement. And so it's not like you're without protection. So I think you just made a really great point, especially if you're using it on the outward facing part of your business, which I encourage people to do, right? Because then you don't have to worry about licensing issues and other things, but just make sure that you are heavily copy editing the output. Make sure that it resembles your original thoughts and your words and your voice, because then you're going to have a much stronger copyright claim to it for those pieces. Let's put that. You're less likely to infringe on somebody else if it had learned the content from the original source. I think we've seen now the New York Times is coming out and suing OpenAI for infringement, literally saying from their original articles, what ChatGPT is outputting. So it has, in fact, taken that work, learned from it, and regurgitated it in this context. And now, presumably, through their terms of service, are assigning ownership rights to it to somebody else. That's how far can you take that context or content and use it? And so there's lots of multi-layered copyright analysis as you go through it.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. I know I've honestly just been so entertained following the drama of the AI world in the past year and stuff, because it really is just so interesting to see how things are unfolding and what's happening. And the New York Times thing too, because I did see one article, and it's really hard to tell. Everyone has their own sides and stuff, but I definitely did see an article where they were the New York Times paid someone to do thousands and thousands of back and forth until it finally got something that was exactly whatever. And then also recently, OpenAI and several other LLMs are partnering with news sources somewhat. And I think that's really interesting too, because with their recent updates and the linking data sources, these new outlets are going to be probably forefront on the results that ChatGPT is dishing up in the browser thing. It's just all really interesting and just stuff to pay attention to and realize, what does this mean for us?
So what's really weird is I use ChatGPT all the time, for ideating, creating outlines, webinar decks, just helping me get started. And I'll use other programs that Lauren has actually put me onto for like actually creating the deck. I use it for things that I want no expectation of ownership in, whether it's like a sales email. Granted, I don't use it that often for sales emails because I still can't get my voice right. I haven't tried hard enough because I know you totally can. But yeah, I use it for a lot of just like internal stuff. And I've created like some form letters for my office using it. If I need to send like a welcome email to a client or something. Because I was telling you before we start call that I have a personal injury firm. And it's nice to be able to like turn out some like documents that if I need them, not for this case specific citing case law, like lawyers, we know we cannot do that. There's actually a lawyer in New York, I think, who is having an issue with the bar because they use Chat GPT to create a brief for a pending case and it cited a bunch of fake cases. So you can't trust it all the time. And you absolutely have to do your due diligence on like the facts that it outputs. Anyways, I use it a lot. And I always tell people like use it in a way that you don't want to have that. If you're risk averse, like if it's something that you don't want to have ownership in, or you're not worried if somebody copies that kind of stuff, I would say by all means use it. Just go that extra mile if it is something that you're going to put out for sale or you want to claim ownership in. And technically, we've already covered that you can't for the output, but like, you know what I'm saying? Then go that extra mile to put your personal touch on it, really put hands onto it to make it your own.
Yeah. And I think that you brought up a great point with me because oftentimes I think of the law as like very cut and dry, black and white, just because you have used AI and parts of it is like AI within an output doesn't mean that you don't necessarily have a case.
Yeah. And so that's like a fine line, right? Because you can't claim like legal protection over an idea. Like patents would cover processes or inventions, but an idea, no. But to a certain degree, what I was saying is like the parts that you make your own, that you actually cheat. So I think it's best to talk in examples for this because people are always like, what if I do this? So say I use Chat GPT and I create a blog. And then I go through that output and I change some section. I make it sound more like me. I delete like the times that have said treasure trove or elevate. Like I'm deleting those and I'm making it my own. Then you have like a unique combination of words. Can you go and then copyright that blog? Probably not under the current state of the law. But they may say like you have to disclaim certain portions of this. And then at what point do you have enough to be able to copyright? So I don't think it's going to be able to be eligible for like copyright protection on the whole. But the thing I would say you're seeing are a lot of challenges to this, right? So if somebody then goes and copies it, it doesn't mean they can do it scot-free because could you then try to bring a claim against them for certain elements and maybe still cause them like some real legal headaches? Yeah. You don't want to just go and copy something because you know it was created by generative AI, but would the claim be as strong or does it exist totally? Probably not. It's really, I think you're on Threads, right? So every day when I open Threads, I see a conversation about like copy, whether it's somebody has copied somebody else's course, website, unfortunately, a digital product or something. It's so rampant. And I do think that Chat GPT makes it really easy for people to upload somebody else's resource and say, rewrite this, right? Because you can do that. Are you supposed to? No, actually, because Chat GPT says like anything you upload, you're supposed to have rights to upload. So again, they're telling you you're not supposed to use the platform for that purpose, but that's in their terms of service actually, but people do it. So I think it perpetuates that idea of feeling like it's so much easier to copy somebody now, right? So it's like really rampant, unfortunately. So there is this pending law, right? The House bill right now in the US, and it's not actually been signed into law, but people are trying to make it a law. And essentially it will require any time that a developer or somebody who is creating a data set for the AI to learn from, that they have to report any copyrighted words that are inside of that database to the register. Which is interesting. Whether or not it's going to pass, there may be some version of it that passes, but the law is trying to address these things in a low-lift manner. Another pending bill that's out there has to do with AI disclosure, whether or not you actually have to credit anything that has been created with AI. That's pending. It has not yet been passed, but it would require you to disclaim or disclose anytime something has been generated with AI, which I think is interesting. I like it. I think there's also a real big enforcement issue with that. I don't know how they would possibly enforce it, but I think a good step into making people more accountable for those things.
Yeah, I know that is so interesting to me too, like disclosing and the transparency and all the different stuff. Like one of my students recently actually asked me, she's been seeing lately in people's newsletters, email newsletters, either written in collaboration with AI or something like written with AI. And then some people also are like, AI free, human made or something. She's like, what do you think about this? And I don't know. My business's name is Authentic AI. So it's like in the title of the business in a way. But then also too, I know that some things I write with AIs and then some things I just write myself. But I know that every single piece of output that I'm sending out into the world, whether it's a caption or an email or whatever it is, I'm still editing it. I don't think I've ever straight up copy pasted something that I've gotten from Chat GPT into something that I'm sharing with the world just because I'm such a word nerd and I can't. There's always something I need to change. But often too, it's like pretty heavy edits and AI just helped me get started. And then I'm like going back and forth and working with it, editing whatever it sent me. But I just know and I'm very confident in the fact that anything that I'm sending out into the world is something that I could have and would have written all by myself. It just would have taken me 2 hours instead of 30 minutes or whatever it is. And I don't know. What should we know about these disclaimers in this bill? And what are your thoughts on this stuff?
Yeah, so I think that the bill hasn't passed, but what has been around a very long time in the US is the Federal Trade Commission. And they do look out for consumers in the marketplace to make sure that they are being sold to ethically and that they want consumers to make informed decisions on the whole. And there's a lot of laws on that topic. So there's nothing that specifically requires you to disclose or disclaim like when something has been written by AI. Not yet. Do you maybe have an ethical duty to do so in your industry? Potentially, if you're like a brand designer using AI images, right? Because then if somebody hires you to create these things, the idea normally and traditionally is that you would own the output. If there's a work made for hire, copyright assignment, a clause within a contract, you own it. But if they create it with AI, you own nothing. Like technically speaking, that commercial expectation to own something is, I think in those contexts, even under the current state of the law, it would be required or arguably necessary to be disclosed within a contract, right? And so I think that could be something important, just using like a brand designer as an example. And the same for a copywriter. Because if you are saying in your contracts, everything's a work made for hire, you own it, I assign to you for all intents and purposes the ability to like copyright this output, the client thinks that they would be able to copyright it. That is the expectation there, legally speaking. If you don't disclose the part of it was written with AI, I think that that's unethical, even under the current state of the law, regardless of that pending law. So if you're in that kind of professional industry creating output for clients with the assistance of generative AI, it's important to disclose it within your contracts and probably a discovery call. I think that's just like the right thing to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I totally agree. Especially too, it's really important for us as business owners to understand these things and make our decisions for ourselves, but we are not like, it's not okay for us to make those decisions for our clients. And I really think that is where transparency is just so important, and also allowing them to opt in or opt out, whether that's like opting out means not working with you anymore, or just if you want to allow them to maybe decide. Let's talk about some ways that you do like to use these tools and also encourage people to use them.
That's the thing that I don't like about legal is it's always, don't do this. No. But hey, I use an AI every day. Honestly, every day. And I use it for all different kinds of things. If I have a question, I go and I ask it, not necessarily a legal question, but sometimes like I made myself a legal box. I love that. Like my own, what is it called? It's custom, right?
Custom GPT.
Yeah. So that's what I have. I created one and sometimes I'll ask it, break it down. I use it in my business to like have an at-a-glance answer and the long detailed answer. And sometimes I'll ask it to bounce those what ifs off of it. Sometimes I'll ask it for the source and I'll go to the source and look because I don't want to be that guy in New York who's getting disbarred for citing whatever is going to happen to him for citing incorrect laws. But I encourage people to use it for like, honestly, doesn't it give solopreneurs and small businesses a leg up? Like it really helps us have a whole other team member And I love it for that because it gives you the ability to compete with brands who have been around a lot longer. Use the tools that are available to you if you're willing to learn them and use them. And if you don't, you're probably going to get passed by. Let's be honest. So I think you should use it for a ton of stuff. I even support using it for like your DALL-E for your images for your website. I want you to do your own like copyright clearance stuff on your own. Make sure you're not asking it to do it something like that resembles the famous piece of art that, like a Banksy. Like we don't want it to match that. We want it to be unique and like that kind of stuff, but use it for your images, use it for your blogs, for your emails, for things that you think that maybe you can't afford to pay for a copywriter initially, or that's just not in the plan for that project. If you are using it for a webinar and outline ideation, like I totally support that. And things that I like using it for myself, I use it sometimes as a coach, like the coaching aspect to it, like just bouncing those questions off of it. What's interesting in the law, like when we are going to court, we will, before we go try a case, we'll have these things called focus groups where we basically try a case in front of a focus group, essentially without all the detail that goes into trying a case. But we try to present both sides in a way that we're like showing them what the case is. And we ask them like, how much would you award for this issue? Or who would you side with? And we use it as a focus group. You can do that to a certain extent. I'm not saying it takes the place of a focus group, but you can do that. Use it for bouncing these real ideas off us. Because focus groups can cost you, depending on your trial, it can cost you $10,000 or $100,000. Like it's really expensive. But you can do some of the same stuff with Chat GPT. And so I like using it in that coaching capacity, the ideation. You can just do so much, right? Create your content schedules and stuff. So I use the heck out of it. And I think you should too. Just because there are copyright issues with the actual output, like when you're wanting to resell that stuff, the output, that's when you need to pump the brakes a little bit and make sure that it doesn't copy somebody else, but use it to come up with all of those ideas.
Yes, or organize your own idea. Like that's one of those ways I take it too. And actually that's how I teach my students to use it often is I have brain dump. In a lot of my prompts that I share with them, I'm like, brain dump your thoughts here. Bring your ideas here. Bring your own ideas to it. Amplify them, expand them, organize them. And I love using it as a coach too. I was comparing it to all the different team members that it could be for me. Because I like to think of it as like that human team member instead of this chat robot. Think of it as that team member is really helpful. I've used it as a mindset coach too, to give me pep talks and stuff.
Oh yeah. I would be embarrassed for somebody to see my Chat GPT history. I mean, that's like a diary, right? I swear it's asking it stuff about laser hair removal. I'm like, nobody needs to know that.
I asked it about like breastfeeding the other day or something because I was like watching a TV show and they're just like chatting and I was like, I know nothing about this. And I was like, I'm either about to go down a deep Google hole and probably fry my brain trying to figure out the answer to these things, or I can ask ChatGPT this random question that popped into my head. So yeah, I love that. I think that it's really helpful for a lot of people to hear. They see ChatGPT and they immediately think copywriting, but there's so many other ways that you can use it. I've been encouraging people too to just, as you're working through your day, whenever you come up across like a pressure point in your business, open yourself up to the possibility of going to ChatGPT or possibly a different tool and thinking, maybe I can like blast through creator's block or ask it this question. I've used it for tech stuff on my website recently where I would have to get stuck on going down a tech blog hole for hours and just like trying to find the one answer I'm looking for. And ChatGPT just helps me so much with just the tech troubleshooting or like, how can I do this in ConvertKit? Is this possible? And what tools do I have to link with Zapier with ConvertKit to be able to do this?
Oh, that's a great point. When you were saying that, it made me think too about like other apps like Cast Magic. So if you are a talker and you have like webinars and stuff, you can upload them into Cast Magic. You upload it in there and say like, okay, now write a blog based on what I said. So it's like, really, it's using my webinar as the inspiration. So I know like the output is going to be, so I think that's a totally safe way to do it too. And also that's not my learning style. Like I'm more like visual and auditory in general. So I think it's a good crutch, but it also helps again with the idea of like solopreneurs really getting started, repurpose the content that you have created in so many different ways.
Yeah, totally. I love doing that too. And that's a really great way to train it on like your brand voice and everything too. You can do it to ChatGPT as well, even. But quick question. And I feel like this is probably one of those gray areas where you're like, we'll see, or I don't know. But like, okay, so if you did upload your podcast transcript or your webinar transcript to ChatGPT, you had it write the blog for you. Based on that, do you think that's one of those gray areas with the copyright stuff?
The transcript from it?
If it would write a blog post based on your transcript or something.
I don't think the Copyright Office would let you own that yet. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. That's probably like 99% no. Which I think is the clearest answer you're going to get from a lawyer, if I do say so myself. But I am hopeful that piece will change. Because think about it like this. These AI tools have been around forever. Photoshop, AI. It's been around forever. And those tools have been eligible. You don't have to do the same like disclaimer requirements. So I think that it's not outside of the realm of possibility for eventually maybe the Copyright Office will like get with the times there. It's a really hard line. Different countries have handled it different ways. Like Japan's analysis of this has been so different, which I'm not an expert in, so I don't want to get into it. I will definitely misquote. And don't hold me to that. I'm licensed in the U.S. But there's a lot of similarities between countries like the U.S., Canada, the U.K., European Union, who are members of certain conventions. We generally treat copyright in the same for the most. So I think that a lot of what we talked about is applicable to like countries in general.
Yeah, I'm going to go look up the Japan copyright stuff because also OpenAI is creating a new model that's supposed to be optimized for Japan. So that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, Lauren was the one who, because I'm not like, I don't follow, I'm not an international lawyer in that sense. For the most part, my clients are domestic in the US. Lauren had mentioned to me about Japan and essentially saying that their AI can learn from whatever they want to learn from. Like, copyright in terms of you don't have a claim against, don't even try to sue AI for trying to learn again on your products. That's not what copyright means to us anymore. It doesn't eliminate what a copyright is, but it allows, it almost carved out an exception for AI to use. That was my understanding. I don't know if it's totally wrong or right. So definitely go look it up. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I thought. And I think it's just interesting, right? Like, because kind of you think about like the law of copyright and it spans so many. Online, we're like, for Instagram, for example, if I created an image and I put it up there, but then somebody in Japan used my image, trying to navigate and sue the person in Japan becomes very difficult and expensive. So luckily platforms like Instagram do have DMCA takedowns that you can do within the platform. But if it's a website that they've pulled your image over to and you want to go find them for that, it becomes really hard. And if you do need to sue them, it becomes expensive. So it's just so tricky to think that like copyright in particular is such a global issue.
Yep. Oh, so interesting. I feel like we could talk about this stuff even longer.
I know, but you're like,
but thank you so much for coming to share with us. And we really appreciate it. Can you please tell everyone how they can find you and connect with you and get all your awesome resources that I know you have?
So I'm an elder millennial. I am active on Instagram and that's about it. I'm testing the waters with threads. You can find me on Instagram at the boutique lawyer. Send me a DM if you want to chat. Also, I have templates for anybody who needs digital contract templates in my shop. So that's fun.
Great. Thank you. And we will link everything in the show notes. And I really appreciate you. This was a great conversation.
Thanks, Kinsey. It was so much fun.
How great was that conversation with Amber? I really enjoy talking about this different stuff that is all kind of unfolding as these tools are gaining popularity, as we are really thinking through the nuances of how we are using these tools in our world. Man, this is going to be something that is probably going to be an ongoing topic for our Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, go ahead and leave us 5 stars or a friendly review on your favorite podcast platform, because it really does help us to continue growing our Authentic AI community and spreading the Authentic AI message. All right. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time I catch you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, my friend. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your shows.